Just like a lot of harassment. Can I have a moment, please? Sure. Colin wasn't at the house. He was not at the house when John was there, so when John was there. Allie McCabe.
And your parents, what are their names?
Matt and Jen.
Jennifer McCabe.
Matthew McCabe, MCC.
ABE. I was just driving around with two of my friends, and then as we were driving, we came across a dog on the side of the street.
On the stand is Allie McCabe. She's the daughter of Jen McCabe. This is the first trial, but there is some controversy as to what she said at the end of her testimony.
We knew a snowstorm was coming, so we picked the dog up and then brought it to the police station and then drove the dog back to where its owner's house. The dog ran over to the car when we stopped and picked the dog up.
She will eventually make her way to 34 Fairview on that fateful night. However, before that occurs, they find the dog, and it wasn't Chloe.
And we didn't really know what to do with it, so we brought it to the police station. As I was walking in and telling the officer that I found a dog, he got a call from the owner, and she asked if she was like, "Oh, can you return my dog, please?"
What a selfish dog owner. First she loses her dog, then calls the Canton police station. They've never solved the crime in their entire history. Then she wants Allie to drive the dog back to her house instead of going to pick it up.
I've known Colin since I've been born.
Colin Albert, ALBERT.
Our families are very close. We went to high school together growing up, in the same friend group. So yeah, we're very close.
In the first trial, the defense pushed for Colin to be one of the culprits that attacked John when he arrived at 34 Fairview.
He texted me and was asking for a ride, and then I responded, drove and got him, texted him when I arrived.
Approximately what time it was that you first get sort of a, Colin reaches out via text to pick him up?
I believe it was around midnight.
As far as your conversation with Colin, do you know why he was over that house that night?
It was little Brian's birthday.
Brian Albert Jr.
We went through little Brian's testimony in a previous video. He was actually celebrating his birthday January 29th. I bet he'll never forget that one.
I'm just an anxious person and I got overwhelmed.
Where in relation to the house did you call?
I believe in the driveway on the left side. Not entirely sure, I just believe that. I texted him saying here.
How long a period of time was it from the time that you texted him here to the time that he comes out to the car?
I'm not sure, a few minutes.
When you got to the house at any point, did you exit the car or go inside the house?
No.
And when he came down, he came over to the car, correct?
Yes.
And you're in the driveway?
Yes.
He gets into what part of the car? Front passenger seat?
Yes, I believe.
Colin texted Allie to come pick him up. She arrived at 34 Fairview at about 12:15 when really the first adults were getting there. She never went into the house and waited for Colin to come out.
When you leave from there, where is it that you went?
His house and then my house.
What, if any, injuries did you observe on Colin when he came out?
None.
And how would you describe his demeanor when he came out and he got into it?
Normal.
I do not sense any indicators of deception in her answers.
In August of 2023, did you have occasion to meet some troopers from the state police?
On a Zoom.
One trooper or more than one trooper or something?
I believe two, I'm not sure.
Do you recall any of the names of any of those troopers?
Yuri maybe was one of them.
Trooper Bukaki?
I'm not sure.
And between January of 2022 and August of 2023, did you have the same phone throughout that time period?
I'm not sure, I believe I upgraded.
My phone was upgraded, traded in for a new phone.
Another way to say that is you traded your phone in and got rid of it, correct?
I traded my phone and upgraded it.
Upgraded.
So you now claim that you got rid of the phone hours before you were ordered to preserve it. That's your testimony, correct?
Yes. September 4th was my birthday. The phone was broken and failing. I had planned on getting a new phone, and that just happened to be the day that I got it.
Happy birthday. Was that a coincidence?
This is from my phone, my text messages. You can get me now if easier. Okay, I am driving people home now. He responded, word, get me after. KK, okay, and here.
Here that you texted, what time does that read on the screenshot?
12:10.
These text messages indicate that she was there at 12:10. To me, the format does not look proper. However, if they were substantiated, we know that Colin could not have been the culprit because he simply wasn't there when John O'Keefe arrived at 12:23
a.m.
Yet at 2:20 in the morning, you texted John O'Keefe, you coming here, correct?
At 2:20?
Sorry, 12:20.
I did.
And that had 3 question marks behind it, correct?
Yes.
But we do know this big boy Higgy Bear was waiting in his girly Jeep Wrangler that had a plow at the front of it, texting John O'Keefe to come at 12:20. We know that John O'Keefe does not arrive until 12:23.
What was the purpose of yourself and or Colin or anybody being over the Albert's house on that day?
One of Nicole and Brian's sons were coming home from their Marines, so there was like a welcome home party.
Allie's describing the next time she went to 34 Fairview after John was found on the lawn.
Family and friends.
And that is your cousin Jack, is that correct?
Correct.
My son, Jack, who's one of the twins, was in the Marines, or is in the Marines. We had put some plaques and some stuff in his room upstairs. Plaques, his room upstairs.
Quote, I've never been upstairs. Is that
Yes.
right?
Brian Higgins was prior military, as am I. And I thought he would want to see the photos, so I had him look at them.
You indicated that the photos that you saw were on the first floor living room area. Is that right?
I believe that's where they were, yes.
I know at one point, my husband and his friend Brian were in our family room, so I kind of went in there and was talking to them. We had some shelves on the wall that just had a bunch of pictures, old pictures from our wedding or when Brian was in the Marines, so we would just kind of look at them, laughing, talking about them. We stood in there for a little bit talking, and then eventually we just moved into the kitchen area where everybody else was.
Someone says, we went upstairs to look at the photos. Where would they have to be?
Well, who said they went upstairs?
Showing Brian Higgins some photos that were in my son's room that were upstairs.
Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were in the, I guess you'd call it the TV room area, just standing and talking, the TV room.
Family room.
My son, Jack, his room upstairs.
Well, who said they went upstairs?
God damn it, you guys. I said upstairs in Jack's room looking at his Marine photos. That's it. Not the family room, not any other type of photos. Upstairs, Jack's room, Marine photos, and you screwed it up.
Colin and my Auntie Coco.
Auntie Coco looks great there. I wonder what's causing her to age so quickly.
Yes, Nicole.
Ms. McCabe, you have known Colin Albert your whole life, correct?
Correct.
Your mother is Jennifer McCabe.
Jennifer McCabe.
Correct.
His mother is Julie Albert.
Trooper Bukaki.
Correct.
It's fair to say that on January 29th, 30th, 31st, you did not turn over that screenshot to any law enforcement official, correct, of 2022?
No, I was never asked.
You know why you were asked in August of 2023 versus any prior time period?
It only took the state troopers of Massachusetts to ask for her phone records a year and a half.
Because Colin Albert wasn't in the house, and then it was brought up here that he was.
What, if anything else, has either your family or Colin Albert and his family undergone over the course of the pendency of this case?
Basically harassment.
And harassment by who?
Bloggers, people online.
With reference to what you were talking about as far as the relevancy of Colin Albert being in the house at that time, what, if any, harassment was there in relation to that and in relation to Colin?
Well,
No, go ahead, she can answer.
Colin wasn't at the house, so he's being harassed he was not at the house when John was there, so.
And that's the statement that everyone wants me to analyze. Now, she said Colin was not at the house when John was there. However, she was never in the house to actually see, and if we're to believe those shoddy text messages indicating that she left there at 12:15, she never would have saw John O'Keefe because we're certain that he arrived there at 12:23.
I drove him home. So the people are harassing him saying he was at the house when it's not true. Constant phone calls, emails, awful messages.
That's exactly how my mother-in-law treats me.
In your family, what, if any, type of harassment have you received?
People showing up at our house, people emailing my school. Just like a lot of harassment. Can I have a moment, please?
Sure.
No matter how tough a guy is, we have no defense to a woman crying.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have some, thank you.
And how long a period of time has that persisted for?
Very long time.
Old prosecutor Lally's got some bedside manner. However, I do not believe Allie's statement that Colin was not in the house when John was there is that relevant simply because the fact that she wasn't in the house. But if she's telling the truth, we can eliminate Colin as one of the suspects. Remember, there's not many people that had the motive, means, and opportunity to kill John. And as we watched earlier, Brian Albert came up with a beautiful script, but these dopes could not follow it. At 12:34, those two guys could not have been with the group. They had to have been dealing with John and his body. Therefore, they had to come up with that excuse.
The TV room.
Family room.
My son, Jack, his room upstairs.
Well, who said they went upstairs?